Okay, so I'm launching a new product and service in our agency. And it's really in the done with you tier of what we do when it comes to messaging and content creation and content positioning, really, right? And obviously, like you, I'm going to tell me that I've got to be obsessed with my customer. And my new YouTube channel, the one that we're relaunching, is all about this new product and service and dedicated to this particular customer. And so, as we talk about content theory, diving into who this customer is and what they look like is really, really important. And so, one of the things we did up front was we sat down and we talked about the product and we talked about the customer that we wanted to serve, and we created the initial ideal customer profile. Well, those are only as good as they are until you test them, right? Because in that moment and in that time, what I've done, what the team did, is we sat down and we thought about the ideal customer out there and we wrote about them and we came up with an ideal customer profile and we started looking at messaging based on what we understood. Well, then I had the chance to be on the road and go to 5 cities in 3 weeks, meet several hundred people, and talk about this new product that we're bringing to market. And it's called ContentCoach.Social. Okay. And I got to talk about it and share, and I got to talk to people who, as I understood them, were not my ideal customer. I got to talk to people who I understood them should be my ideal customer. And I got to talk to some people that I hadn't even considered. And out of that, we started some customers. We created some customers. And so now I've got even more data to go back to my ideal customer profile and refine even more, right? It's not good enough that we did it a couple months ago and now it's there. Now we have more data, we go back and refine. And when we get more data, we'll go back and refine. As we learn our customers, we continually refine our ideal customer profile. Because everything we do in messaging in the world needs to come back to and be justified by our ideal customer profile. So, what I want to do today, if I can, is just take a few moments and walk you through where we are right now. Okay? So we're creating, we call it internally CC.S, right? Because it's ContentCoach.Social, acronym, okay? And with CC.S, we are targeting people who sell high ticket product or services, so really things over $2,000 online. They're creating content online for their user's journey, their ideal customer's journey right now. They've already been doing that, but it's just not working. So they're willing to create the content. They're willing to get on video. They're willing to put it out there, but they're struggling. They're struggling and they can't necessarily figure out why they're struggling and why their content isn't converting, why it isn't generating more quality leads for them. Well, our system helps you with that. Our system helps you define who the ideal customer is, define everything that we talk about. It goes through and it helps you do. Okay? So that's a little backdrop. Now let's jump into the ideal customer profile here. So now over on the left, you'll see this is the outline of all the different sections. We're going to kind of breeze through these because I think it's like a 15-page document or something here, and it's going to take a while. So I'm going to go through kind of quickly, right? So we got the basic demographic information, and this is all the basic stuff that you would expect there in demographic information. But then where the real fun begins is in the psychographic information, okay? And so we start off by looking at how long they've had the problem, right? We realize that they've been struggling for a while. This isn't anything new. They've been trying for a while. So we're looking for people who have been trying to create content online for a while. So that helps us understand where they are. They really aren't afraid. They know that this can work. They know they should be doing it. They're trying to do it. They've been trying to do it for a while. 1 to 3 years, that's a good little while, right? Then we look at, and we've defined 10 questions that they had before buying. Now, here's the deal, y'all. I've been doing this since 2002, creating these documents. And way back in the day, and I actually still have stuff from way back then, I can show you the process that we used to go through in order to create these, right? And it's gotten refined over the last 20 plus years. But even still, it used to be a 9-step process that used to take literally months to do, right? Now, what we've done with AI is I've actually shortened that time frame down to, honestly, 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, 20 to 30 minutes to get to this point based on you having some understanding and being able to answer really 4 questions, right? So there are 4 questions that we asked, and I've written a ridiculous prompt and have tested it time and time again in almost every industry out there to prove that it's going to work, and help you produce a really great ideal customer profile that you can then start to test off of. Okay, so that's where stuff like this, these 10 questions they ask before buying, come from. And so we're looking through here, and the purpose of this here, as we're looking at it, is we want to understand what's in their minds before they buy from us. Because understanding what's going on in someone's mind before they buy your product will help you better communicate with them where they are. Because if you think that they're here thinking about this thing, but they're really back here thinking about something else, you've had that before, where you're communicating with someone and you're making assumptions and you're communicating about something and they're not even thinking about that at all. They're thinking about something totally different. They're not even where you are, and you can't understand why you're miscommunicating. You know, people call it apples and oranges, right? So 10 questions before buying helps us really dive into understanding the oranges that they're thinking about right now, and allow us to ask even more questions about those oranges, right? Or even how we create our solution. So, for example, one question that they may ask, where is it here? Yeah, let's do this one. How often will you review and adjust the content strategy? Well, that's a great, if that's what they're thinking before, like, I know it's got to be reviewed. Well, when I'm messaging now, I know I need to address that. And I need to address the fact that content strategies do change. And I need to address that we are going to give you an audit every 90 days. And we're going to look at what happened in the last 90 days and how we need to change to better have better results in the next 90 days. And that if you do it less than 90 days, that you're really shooting yourself in the foot because you haven't given yourself enough time to really test and see what the real results are. Right? So it's really important there. And that's where this helps you. 10 potential problems solved. I love this section as well because invariably, we find 1 or 2 things that AI discovers in here that we weren't thinking about as a problem our client was having. Okay? Let's see. I should have marked this before I started, but I didn't. The inefficient content production processes. Yeah, we may have thought about that, but you know, it's for us, because we're a video marketing agency, it's something we take for granted. And so, not just that you need to know how to produce, but it needs to be efficient. It needs to be efficient. And so my point here, y'all, is we use these ideal customer profiles, and we use AI to help us based on the information that we have, and we continue to grow so that we can gain better understanding of what's really going on with our customers so that we can communicate better to them. When we start to get into what their emotional responses are, think about that for a moment. How often do you think what their emotional response is going to be to the solution that you're providing for them? How often do we even know what it is? Right? We just get a thank you email. But what was really the emotional response? And then what's preventing them from hitting their goals? What were some of their challenges that they're facing? This one floored me because I hadn't considered it. And it was exactly what happened with a couple of the new clients that we had for this product. Internal resistance to change and new strategies. And so I had not at all considered how we were going to do messaging to help people overcome the internal resistance to change. Okay, because I'm just thinking about that one person. But yeah, if you're a CMO of a company, there may be other C-suite people or even downline people who they're not ready to change. They're not ready to change. What have they done before? What have they purchased before? Always good information here as well. These are the sections that you have to consider when you're creating your ideal customer profile. And I'm sharing these with you because if you haven't done this, you need to. If you haven't considered all of these sections, you need to. And I'll also give it to you for free. If you go to ContentCoach.Social, you can actually download a free copy of this outline so that you know all the different sections. The key purchase drivers. I love this section because what we're doing here is we sit down and we look at what are their purchase drivers based on their pain points. And then we map those to the features of our service. Okay? And then the benefits that our service provides. This gives us clear path of messaging. Very, very, very clear path of messaging. As we continue talking about content theory, we talk about why, how, what, and that movement through why, how, what. This key purchase drivers grid here fuels so much of that because we understand the pain point, we understand the feature, we understand the benefit. And once we understand the benefit, then we can start to look at why that benefit's important in the world, how we do it, and would you like my help with that as we look at why, how, what in the progression of content that we create. Okay? So really, really super important that you do this. I hope y'all are hearing me say, I keep repeating it, but I hope you're hearing me say that. What are their fears and frustrations? What's keeping them up at night? Oftentimes too here we find things, we uncover things, AI uncovers things here for us that we did not know they were concerned about. And some of these things here aren't things that we necessarily can come right out and say, you're scared about this. But it gives us points that we could subtly, very easily mention. When we look at creating why content, philosophical content, a lot of times it's in their fears here. It's in their fears. And if it's not in their fears, then it's in the next section, which is their wants and desires. Their wants and desires. Okay. Last section I'm going to show you guys here really quickly. This is probably never heard of these next. This is one section, but these two subsections here. One is the core desires based on Stephen Rice's 16 basic desires. So the prompt that I've created actually knows and understands Stephen Rice's 16 basic core desires of why people do things. And then it looks at your product and service against your ideal customer and everything that it's built about your ideal customer. And then it ranks the core desires based on how important the core desires are to your ideal customer. So guess what? And look at it. People want to create messaging because of power. You say power, wow, right? But people want to be influential. They have a desire to be influential. Yeah. If I miss that in the messaging, if I miss that, it's important for my ideal customer to be able to show up powerfully in the world, to show up as an expert in the world, then they won't resonate with my messaging because it doesn't speak to their desire. So as I said, these are ranked in terms of the desires, and then there are obviously some that they don't desire, so it's not all 16 are listed there, obviously. And then the next one is, and I don't remember the year, but Harvard did their elements of value pyramid. Okay. Ryan Dice was actually the first person to introduce me to this because I didn't know it existed before he mentioned it, and I've fallen in love with it ever since. And we kind of built it into our ideal customer profiles. And here it goes through and talks about what your different values are. What do you value and why our solution is super important, why our solution helps you. And my point there, guys, is when you're looking at this ideal customer profile, as we kind of just went through really, really quickly there, if you don't have one of these already, you're missing the boat. You're missing the boat. And it's the exact reason why your content's falling flat because you don't know who exactly you're talking to. Everything you say should link directly back to something that comes out of your ideal customer profile. And as you grow and you get more customers and you talk and meet more people and you discover more about your ideal customer profile, you update that document. And it's a cyclical process. And that is how we get better. That's what I did this week. So wanted to share that with you. This is my weekly update. Wanted to share that with you because it's super important. It's illuminated, and probably next week I'll talk about some of what it illuminated, but it's illuminated a lot that we're now thinking through as we've taken all of that data that we got from me being on the road and meeting all of those people and talking and rebuilding our ideal customer profile. It's illuminated how we look at the product and service that we're bringing to market, okay, and the offers that we make as we bring it to market.